From stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. A pleasant evening. I'm Dilanjali Ananda.
And I am Thilina Udayaratna. For starters, we take a look at tonight's headlines. Cyclone Buravi affects 3,500 northeast families and moves away from the island. Advisory issued not to engage in any naval or fisheries activities until tomorrow morning. A plan to conduct the GCE ordinary level examination in March. Another 728 COVID-19 recoveries return to their residences. Deaths of the Mahara prison inmates occurred due to clashes and not from shooting, the state minister says. The first Sri Lankan-born member of New Zealand's parliament reminisced the assassination of late journalist Richard de Souza. USA recorded the highest daily increase of COVID-19 related deaths yesterday.
And we begin with news from home. Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipalli, gave an update on the cyclonic storm Buravi and its impact to the country following landfall last night.
Due to the cyclonic situation since last evening, so around 12,000 people have been affected in 6 districts of Sri Lanka, especially in the northern province and the Trincomalee, the eastern province. In Trincomalee, Jaffna, Vavuniya, Kilinochchi, Mullaitivu and Mannar. So these some areas been affected and more than 190 houses been partially damaged, and the compensations will be given according to the assessment scheduled to be done through the district secretaries. The funds already been released to the district secretaries through the Disaster Management Centre, especially under the Ministry of Defence, and the situation is normalizing in many areas of Sri Lanka, and the Met Department already confirmed that the cyclonic situation already been away from the Sri Lanka, but there are some rain recording in many areas still, and people has to be very vigilant with the prevailing situation, and the Triforces and the police given the police cooperation with the search and rescue missions and the evacuations as well, and still one person missing being recorded from Jaffna. So these data has to be well confirmed by the police and the district disaster management unit. So further information already will be given to the vulnerable communities with the technical information from the meteorology department. And 117 call center number is completely open for all the disaster management activities, and the situation in many areas of the affected areas getting a bit normalizing. So if any queries that people need to contact 117, and fishermen still being advised not to venture the northern and the northwestern as well as the eastern sea areas of Sri Lanka. So sea areas would also be rough, and until further notice people need to refrain from fishing in the particular mentioned areas. So still again we are recommending to all the general public to contact 117 call center in 3 languages in 24/7 basis.
Well, on the same note, the Meteorological Department says that the cyclonic storm Buravi is moving further away from the country, hence the influence of the system to the island is expected to reduce. An advisory has been issued requesting not to engage in any naval and fishing activity in deep and shallow sea areas of the coast extending from Colombo to Kankasanture until tomorrow morning. The Meteorological Department has further advised naval and fishing communities to be vigilant in other sea areas as well. Showers and gusty winds occurred in Mannar, Jaffna and Kilinochchi districts due to the cyclonic storm Buravi. The maximum rainfall in the last 24 hours was reported from Akkara and Kilinochchi, recording 279.8 millimeters of rainfall. Meanwhile, Jaffna, Chavakacheri agricultural and irrigational premises and Achiveli, Telippale areas in Jaffna district received more than 200 millimeters of rainfall. 187 millimeters of rainfall was reported from Ampan. Meanwhile, Mannar recorded 189.5 millimeters of rainfall, and Trincomalee and Kuchiveli recorded 166.9 and 185 millimeters of rainfall respectively. Also, Oddusadan and Alampil areas in Mullaitivu recorded more than 190 millimeters of rainfall. The Meteorological Department has said that showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee district. Reports have indicated that the sea areas in Mannar were rough and experienced surges due to the effects of swell waves. A total of 1,008 families in Mannar have been directed to welfare centres due to the prevailing weather condition. Several low-lying areas were inundated as well. A flooding condition has occurred in Kathankudi and adjoining areas due to heavy rains that occurred in Batiklo. Preparations to divert the accumulated water into the sea were carried out under the guidance of the Kathankudi Municipal Council. The families affected from the floods in Jaffna have been sheltered in welfare camps. Reports have indicated that 750 families in the northern province have been affected from the floods. Fishing community in Putlam, Kalpiti and Vennapu areas refrained from venturing into the sea. Their fishing vessels were shifted to protected areas from the coastal line. Reports have indicated rough sea conditions in the areas though severe damage have not been reported. The fishing community in Mullatiu has also refrained from venturing into the sea as rough sea conditions are prevailing in the area currently. Many incidents related to uprooting of trees were reported from Vaunia due to the cyclonic storm Burevi. The showers along with gusty winds which prevailed last night in the area gradually increased during the night, according to reports. 334 members belonging to 103 families have been affected in Vaunia. The Assistant Director of the Polonnaruwa District Disaster Management Unit, Upul Nanayakara, said that Polonnaruwa has not experienced any disaster condition due to the cyclonic storm. Naval and fishing community in Nigambu has also refrained from venturing into deep and shallow sea areas off the coast due to the roughness of the sea today. Many slopes in the eastern part of Central Highlands continue to experience heavy rain since last evening. A total of 12,252 people belonging to 3,575 families in North and East provinces have been affected from the cyclonic storm. The Disaster Management Centre has indicated that 15 houses have been fully damaged, while 192 houses have been damaged partially. And in the meantime, several houses in certain areas in Trincomalee had sustained minor damages as well. Governor of the Eastern Province, Anuradha Yahampath, and officers engaged in an observational tour in these areas. Estimates on the damages are expected to be prepared and directed to relevant authorities at the earliest.
Minister Professor G.L. Pieris says that the GCE Ordinary Level examination is expected to be conducted in March next year. The minister pointed out that all relevant tasks have been carried out while prioritizing the protection of children. He made these remarks while speaking at a media briefing held at Government Information Department today. Minister Professor G.L. Pieris said that a period of 9 days will be required to conduct the GCE Ordinary Level examination. He said that they are currently taking the effort to find 9 days to conduct the examination while ensuring the health of the students who are expected to sit for the examination. The minister said that a review in this regard has been carried out once in 2 weeks. He said that they are expecting to conduct the examination in the month of March. He added that a further postponement of the examination would not be necessary after March. The minister indicated that they are expecting to release the results of the examination within a period of 3 months following the examination in March. Accordingly, he added that the students will be able to obtain their results in the month of June. He further added that those students will be able to be their advanced level classes in the month of July.
උසස් පෙළ පන්ති ආරම්භ වෙන්නේ සෙප්තැම්බර් මාසේ. ඒතර සෙප්තැම්බර් දක්වා ඉන්නේ නැතුව ජූලි මාසේ උසස් පෙළ පන්ති ආරම්භ වෙනවා නම් එතකොට අපේ ශිෂ්‍ය ශිෂ්‍යාවන්ට පාඩුවක් වන්නේ නැහැ.
විභාග කොමසාරිස්
Commissioner of Examinations Sanat Pujit made remarks on the releasing of results of the GCE Advanced Level Examination. Commissioner of Examinations Sanat Pujit said that usually a period of 4 months is required to issue results of the GCE Advanced Level Examination. He said that the marking of the unanswered papers of the examination was commenced on November 25th. Accordingly, he added that they are expecting to complete the task within the period of 4 months. He further said that the making statement considering the prevailing situation in the country. Minister Kihelia Rambukwala said that the government continues to take decisions based on the scientific approach while analyzing the conditions occurred with the pandemic situation. He added that the government is not prepared to make any politicized decisions at present. He added that it is important that the nation directs the attention on how the opposition takes advantage of the COVID pandemic to promote their political agendas.
Now, taking a look at the local coronavirus situation, the percentage of COVID-19 recoveries in the country has increased up to 73.88. The epidemiology unit has indicated that a total of 19,032 COVID-19 recoveries have been recorded thus far. Another 728 fully recovered patients have left hospitals today. A batch of 15 patients at the Pinnavala COVID-19 treatment centre have left the centre today following their complete recovery from the disease. Accordingly, a total of 452 patients have left the centre upon their recovery. Another 111 patients are receiving treatment at the hospital right now. A batch of 17 patients at the COVID-19 treatment centre in Rambukkana at the Rambukkana District Hospital have left the centre today following their complete recovery. The recovered patients have been identified as residents from Jayala, Kandana, Ragama, Mahabage and Paliyagoda. A total of 3,216 COVID-19 recoveries were reported in the past week. Meanwhile, 728 fully recovered patients left hospitals today. The percentage of COVID-19 recoveries in the country is at 73.88. The total recoveries in the country has increased up to 19,032, while the percentage of active COVID-19 patients currently receiving treatment stands at 25.64. A total of 350 COVID-19 patients were detected from the country today. A total of 13,423 PCR tests were conducted yesterday. Accordingly, more than 864,909 PCR tests have been conducted in the country at present. Two COVID-19 related deaths were reported in the country yesterday. The deceased COVID-19 patients have been identified as residents from Colombo 13 and Chilao. The initiative to conduct the last rites of the deceased infected with COVID-19 without a guardian and relative will be conducted at the expense of the government. A joint committee consisting of tourism and health officials has been appointed on the resumption of the airport to revive the tourism industry. The committee has been appointed following a discussion held at the Ministry of Health with the participation of Ministers Prasanna Ranatunga and Pavitra Vanyarachi and State Minister Dr. Sudarshini Fernando Pulle. The representatives from Airport and Aviation Limited, Tourism Development Authority, experts in the hotel industry and Ministry of Tourism were present at this occasion. The relevant future steps will be taken following a submission of the recommendations of the committee. The Ministry of Tourism said that the tourists who are expected to arrive in the island after the opening of the country will be allowed to stay in hotels and other accommodations which have assured to follow health guidelines. 80 hotels and other accommodations have obtained the relevant certificates at present. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that the Tourism Development Authority continues to issue the certification for hotels and other accommodations interested in this regard.
Taking a look at the world update of the COVID-19 pandemic, the US recorded its highest daily number of coronavirus deaths yesterday, while Iran's coronavirus cases passed 1 million milestone today. The global COVID-19 infections have increased up to 64.6 million cases thus far, with more deaths recording across the world. The US recorded its highest daily number of coronavirus deaths yesterday with more than 3,157 new deaths, while the number of people admitted to hospital with COVID exceeded 100,000 for the first time since the pandemic began. The previous high was the 2,607 deaths recorded on April 15th at the beginning of the pandemic. More than 200,070 new cases were reported yesterday, only the second time new cases had exceeded 200,000. With the total case load now standing at 13.9 million, the US is expected to record its 14th million case in the next couple of days. Iran's total number of coronavirus cases hit 1 million today, with 13,922 new cases recorded in the past 24 hours, as the Middle East's worst affected country's death toll reached 49,300. Iran has introduced tougher restrictions to stem the third wave of coronavirus infections, including closing non-essential businesses and travel curbs. Italy announced national travel restrictions today for the Christmas holidays designed to limit the spread of the COVID-19 in the European country first hit by the pandemic. Nearly 500,000 South Korean students nervously began a hyper-competitive university entrance exam on Thursday amid the country's third coronavirus wave.
Nearly 500,000 students in South Korea took the biggest exam of their lives on Thursday, right in the middle of the country's third coronavirus wave. The grueling college scholastic ability test lasts 8 hours. It's seen as a life-defining exam for high school seniors to secure admission to a prestigious university and possibly set them on the path to the scarce few corporate jobs at South Korea's big companies like Samsung. But preparing for this year's test proved even more stressful than usual, with the coronavirus forcing many students to stop attending private lessons and cram schools. And the recent rise in infections forced authorities to double the number of exam venues to allow for social distancing, conduct temperature checks at testing sites, and separate desks using plastic screens. 19-year-old Jun Young-jin was one of this year's test takers.
Since I'm sitting for this exam for a second time, I think taking the test is my first priority, even though there's a risk of infection. I just want to finish the test. That's all I'm thinking about.
Even some 30 students who have tested positive for COVID-19 took the test at designated hospitals, while special venues were set up for another 400-plus students in self-quarantine. Test proctors for the confirmed and suspected cases were required to wear protective equipment, collect exam papers in plastic bags, and wipe them down before handing over to staff outside. South Korea has tightened its social distancing curbs in recent weeks, as the country's number of daily coronavirus cases hovers around 500 a day, a level not seen since March.
Coming back to more local stories, the Prison Intelligence Unit has succeeded in arresting the prison inmate who had fled from the Ragama hospital last night from Orugudavatta. Commissioner of Prisons Chandana Ekanayaka said that the apprehended inmate has been directed to a PCR test as well. The Commissioner of Prisons said that the suspected patient was taken into custody in accordance with a tip received by the Prison Intelligence Unit this morning. The apprehended inmate is one of the injured persons hospitalized following the clashes occurred in the Mahara prison. The video footage released to the media yesterday has verified the fact that a fight between two groups of prisoners had escalated into a massive disturbance. Commissioner of Prisons Chandana Ekanayaka said that the group of inmates who had made the attempts to stop the violent behavior of the other group of inmates had also rendered their assistance in transporting the injured persons to the prison's gate. A total of 106 inmates and 2 prison officers sustained injuries after the officers were compelled to use force to mitigate the clashes and the disturbance. A total of 11 have died from the incident. Meanwhile, Commissioner General of Prisons Tushara Upuldenia, while addressing a media briefing today, said that the prison officers cannot be controlled by carrying out such violent incidents.
State Minister Lohan Ratwate says the deaths of the Mahara prison inmates occurred due to clashes and not from shooting. He made this statement during the budget debate held in Parliament today. The heads of Expenditure of Defence Ministry and Internal Security, Home Affairs and Disaster Management Ministry were taken up for debate today. State Minister Lohan Ratwate said that an inquiry has been commenced through the CID at present. He said that no inmate has died from the shooting carried out by the prison officers. He added that all the deceased inmates had died from the clashes occurred inside the prison. He said that this has been revealed from the post-mortem report.
Well, the first Sri Lankan-born member of New Zealand's Parliament, Vanushi Walters, made her maiden speech to the Parliament yesterday. In her speech, she made brief statements in Sinhalese and Tamil languages as well. Attending the parliamentary session in a sari, the Sri Lankan origin parliamentarian received a warm welcome.
Vanushi Walters to make her maiden statement.
Ayubowan Vanakam, my congratulations, Mr. Speaker, on your reappointment. I want to acknowledge your guidance through the induction, and I look forward to your guidance this term. There's a moment.
New Zealand
just
parliamentarian
as you wait.
Vanushi Walters became the first Sri Lankan-born member of the New Zealand Parliament after winning a race to be Upper Harbour MP in Northwest Auckland in last October. The Sri Lankan New Zealander is a lawyer and advocate with national and international experience. She was born in 1981 in Colombo. She is the great-granddaughter of Ratnasoti Saravanamuttu, a member of the State Council of Ceylon and the first native mayor of Colombo. In her maiden speech, she made a special mention of human rights and remembered the impact to her family following the assassination of her distant relative, late journalist Richard de Souza, in 1990.
After my mother told me Richard de Souza's story. Richard was my father's second cousin, a journalist in Sri Lanka, killed in 1990.
Stay tuned with us. We have more local stories coming up right after this break.
Welcome back. We continue with more news from home. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena engaged in an observation tour in Department of Register of Companies and BCCE Lanka Limited today. The minister arrived at the Department of the Register of Companies to inquire on an offence committed through the department during the previous government period, as complained by MP Buddhika Patirana at the Parliament. Subsequently, Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena directed a special attention over the uplifting of local industries while engaging in an observational tour at BCC Lanka Limited. Meanwhile, State Minister Indika Anuruddha engaged in an observational tour at the construction site of Paliagoda Sea City Trade Complex belonging to State Engineering Corporation. The abandoned trade complex, which commenced construction in 2013, consists of more than 350 trade stalls. Prime Minister's Chief of Staff Yoshitha Rajapaksa was also present in this tour. Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopulle, who was appointed as the State Minister of Primary Health Care, Epidemiology and Coronavirus Disease Control, assumed in her state ministerial duties today. State Minister Professor Chandrajasamna was also present. A special program was organized at the State Ministry of Women and Child Development in Colombo parallel to the World Disability Day. The event was held with the participation of State Minister P.L. Nishanta. The program conducted by the State Ministry on the spiritual and human development of student community was appreciated. Marking the birthday of veteran journalist Kalashuri Dr. Edwin Aryadasa, Minister Kehali Rambukwala visited his residence and conveyed best wishes to him today. The minister mentioned that the ministry continues to look after journalists and artists who are currently in the latter parts of their lives. Director General of Department of Government Information, Nalaka Kaluava, was also present at this occasion.
Now, in more local stories, it was revealed yesterday that the loss of revenue at the Inland Revenue Department for the year 2018 has amounted to 1.3 trillion rupees. This was revealed when the officers of the Inland Revenue Department convened before the Committee on Public Accounts for an inquiry yesterday. The committee session was preceded by Chairman of the committee, Professor Tissa Vitarana. The officers of the Inland Revenue Department mentioned that the majority of the tax revenue has to be paid by the government, and an independent board had decided that some of the state institutes are not in a stable financial situation in order to make the payments. The committee recommended the department to submit a complete report in this regard. Well, that's it on local stories. We'll be back with news overseas. Well, Christmas is just around the corner. That's it on Rupavahini News for tonight. Join us once again tomorrow. Until then, thanks for watching. Have a great night.
Good night.